Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our fourth webinar of Do's and Drones, and this is the final one for this webinar series. Okay, let's begin. I'm Angela Arnante. I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Today, we will talk about, the title for today's webinar is Walk the Talk. Why is that? For the past few weeks, we've been given, we've had talks on theory, on how to do this, on how to do that. But for today's seminar, we will actually explore the application or the real-time application of drones for surveying. Specifically for our purpose, it ends in securing titles for residential owners. Okay, to begin, our speakers for today are both geodetic engineers. They're with the Foundation for Economic Freedom. Our first speaker is Engineer Rhea Dealca, who's a geodetic engineer, an environmental planner, and a real estate broker. She worked as consultant, GE, and geospatial analyst and technical assistant in the areas of land and property rights, lands policy development, land titling and survey and mapping at FF Bruce and Company. She also worked with DNR for the Land Administration and Management Project Phase 1 and in other projects supported by FEF, USAID, Australian Aid, and the Asia Foundation and Global Land Tool Network and the World Bank. Finally, she got her master's degree in land management and land tenure. And she graduated from the University of the Philippines with a degree in geodetic engineering, and that's where she also got her diploma in urban and regional planning. For our next speaker, his name is Engineer Voltaire Tila, who's a practicing GE for 17 years with extensive experience in conducting various land surveys from topographic, relocation, construction, and parcellery, as well as geographic information system and other relevant GE services. He is also knowledgeable in operating drones and processing drone data, and is a SCAP certified ARPAS controller. He also got his bachelor's degree from the University of the Philippines. It's in BS in Geodetic Engineering. Without further ado, I'm going to give the floor to Engineer Rhea Dealca to walk us through or to give us a context of why we've been doing this webinar and the rationale of drone-supported surveying. Engineer Rhea, please, you can share your screen.
Hello. Okay, so magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. I will be sharing with you the rationale of our drone-supported survey initiative under the Technology for Property Rights project. But before that, let me introduce to you the Foundation for Economic Freedom, or FEF, which is a public advocacy organization dedicated to the cause of advancing economic and political liberty, good governance, secure and well-defined property rights, market-oriented reforms, and consumer protection. For many years now, FEF has been working on property rights projects such as the implementation of Republic Act number 10023 or the Residential Free Patent Act, which also included our work on supporting the DNR-LGU partnership on public land titling, and the development of the policies on titling of public school sites and government lands. We have also worked on a project to promoting property rights to strengthen credit enhancement mechanism to increase access of title holders to formal financing. We also did a series of workshops to enhance the business and investment climate in Muslim Mindanao, which included the workshop on land and property rights in partnership with the Philippine Center for Islam and Democracy and the UP College of Law. We also did a study on the removal of restrictions on agricultural free patents, and we supported the passage of the bill on the removal of restrictions of this agricultural free patents, which has been passed as Republic Act number 11231, or the Agricultural Free Patent Reform Act. So one of the projects of FEF is the Technology for Property Rights, which started in 2016. It aims to further scale land titling and increase the security of property rights through policies, partnerships and the use of new approaches and technologies. One of its components is the drone-supported survey. So the drone-supported survey activity introduced the drones as an alternative surveying tool, and it also aims to show that surveys using drones or UAVs can meet government survey accuracy standards, and that the drone-supported survey is also cost-effective and time-efficient. In Southeast Asia, and even the whole of Asia, Philippines is one of the pioneers to use drones for land surveying and land titling. So as we aim to enhance the procedures in land surveying and titling, we have looked at how drone technology can help in parcel identification, that is to generate the coordinates and or technical descriptions that define boundaries, which could eventually lead to titling. FEF is in the belief that the nation will prosper when property rights are well-defined and are enforced. In 2016, the team led by Mr. Rene Sanapo was able to meet Mr. Walter Fockman. He's a surveyor who is an American, and he works in different parts of the world, and is also one of the pioneers in the use of drones for land surveys. He showed the team, which includes the Land Management Bureau, DNR Region 7, and Sky Eye, the technique being used in undertaking drone-supported survey in a selected area in Cordoba, Cebu, covering a number of parcels. They did a comparison of surveys using total station and the drone and found comparable results. So in November 2016, these results were presented to the Geodetic Engineers of the Philippines national officers in Bohol. And since they observed that only one area with the flat terrain was surveyed by the drone in Cordova, Cebu, they suggested that we do more studies on the use of drones in various types of terrain. And so with the Land Management Bureau, we connected with the University of the Philippines Department of Geodetic Engineering and UP Training Center for Applied Geodesy and Photogrammetry with regard to the conduct of the study. So in 2017, with Engineer Ariel Blanco, who is at that time the chair of UPDGE, Engineer Louis Balecanta, Engineer Ivan Pagdonsolan, and Engineer Raquel Francisco from UP, and Professor Ping Lopez. Sila yung mga kasama namin with regard to the study and also to the development of drone policy. So itong research study with the UP Department of Geodetic Engineering, so nagkaroon po tayo ng actual flights in different terrains sa Norzagaray, Bulacan. And if you watched webinar series number 2, entitled Knowing is Half the Battle, Engineer Louis Balecanta presented the results of this study. The results of the study served as input to the policy that was developed at that time. So in the course of the study, we consulted several geodetic engineers and practitioners from DNR LMB, the UP Department of Geodetic Engineering and UPTCAGP, members of the Geodetic Engineering of the Philippines, the DNR regional offices, private geodetic engineers, Professor Epifanio Lopez, and of course, Walter Fockman. So this policy led to the issuance of Land LMB Memorandum Circular number 2017-003, entitled Adoption on the Alternative Use of Unmanned Aerial System in the Conduct of Land Survey, and the Technical Bulletin number 2, series of 2017, entitled Guidelines on the Use of Unmanned Aerial Systems in Support of Land Survey. These policies opened up opportunities for the geodetic engineering community to learn about the new drone technology and its application in supporting land surveys. So FEF with UPTCAGP and LMB then provided capacity building activities to geodetic engineers in the government, both national and local, academic institutions, other organizations, and private practitioners to increase their awareness and the understanding of the value of drone-assisted surveying. So we did 4 trainings in all. The first one is the pilot training, which was conducted here in Quezon City. Our main partner at that time was UP DGE and UP TCAGP. The second leg was conducted in for the Visayas region. It was held in Cebu, and our partner was the University of Southern Philippines Foundation. The third leg was in Luzon. So we partnered with the Bicol University, and this was conducted in Tabaco, Albay. And the last training was held in Butuan City for the Mindanao leg, with the Caraga State University as our partner. All these universities, in all these universities, we worked with their Department of Geodetic Engineering. So for these trainings, we would like to thank for UP, Sir UP Department of Geodetic Engineering and UP TCAGP, Sir Louis Balecanta, Engineer Ivan Pagdonsolan, V. Rivera, Engineer Jun Domingo, Engineer Dean Bool, Engineer Amy Cañada, and then from USPF, Engineer Alfredo Arenajo and Engineer Ruby Rosal. From the Bicol University, Engineer Ana Abante and Engineer Michael Cobilla. And for Caraga State University, we would like to thank Engineer Dean Miriam Santillan, Engineer Georgine Santillan, Engineer Lori Asuve, and Engineer Art Kauba. So after the policies were issued, our next activity was to apply the policy in actual survey and land titling, and the selected area was in Barangay Santa Fe, Esperanza, Agusan del Sur. So Agusan del Sur was one of FPF's partners when we were doing the DNR-LGU partnership in public land titling. So until now, Agusan del Sur is still active in their local titling program. So it's headed with by the Assessor's Office under Engineer Cesar Rufila and Ms. Linda Bokir. So our partners in the implementation of our drone-supported survey in Agusan del Sur is the Barangay of Santa Fe, Esperanza, Agusan del Sur, the Agusan del Sur Provincial Government, under the Assessor's Office and Engineering Office. We also coordinated with the Municipality of Esperanza, the UP Training Center for Applied Geodesy and Photogrammetry, and the UP Department of Geodetic Engineering, Caraga State University College of Engineering and Geosciences. And we also would like to thank our partner from the DNR Region 13, Regional Director Felix Alicer and Engineer Arthur Herman. Special thanks also to Engineer Alea Lu Asis, and also of course the Department of Environment and Natural Resources Land Management Bureau. So lagi namin kasama sina Kuya Apple Agustin and Engineer Jess Hongko. So just a description of the pilot site. We did the survey from November 19 to 23. Actually, we did just 2 days of survey at Barangay Santa Fe, Esperanza, Agusan del Sur, where the area is medium to high density residential area. The survey team was composed of Engineer Chen Pecolados, Engineer Cedric Herbilla, and Clyde Trinidad of the province of Agusan del Sur. So merong survey team ang province nila, and it is headed by Engineer Chen Pecolados. From UP, we have Engineer Ivan Pagdonsolan and Engineer Dean Bool, and of course from FPF, Engineer Voltaire Tila. So ito po yung area that was where the survey was conducted. And to share with us the details of the drone-supported survey activities in Agusan del Sur, let's all welcome Engineer Voltaire Tila. So, Volts, the Zoom spotlight is yours.
Okay. Yes. Good morning. Okay, for this presentation, so We will present yung how we implemented the Agusan del Sur survey by following the workflow as cited in the LMB Technical Bulletin 2 2017. Yeah, so the first part is the project design, reconnaissance, flight planning, ground control point survey, aerial image acquisition, image processing, and accuracy assessment. But for this activity, we added 2 additional steps, which is the parcelization and the survey time preparation. So for the project design, so for this, yung all technical logistical needs are to be considered. So again, the project site is located at Barangay Santa Fe, Esperanza, Agusan del Sur. The lot to be mapped is lot 1648 of Public Land Survey 181 with an area of 8,528 square meters. So the equipment that were used for the activity is first the Phantom 4 advanced drone, GNSS receivers, and a total station. So the reference control point that was used is AGS 3334, and the proposed numbers of ground control points to be established is 8. Okay, so this is the Google Earth overlay of the site. So the red polygon is the lot to be surveyed. The green triangles are the proposed ground control points to be established. The blue rectangle is the flight plan boundaries. And below the blue rectangle is the location of AGS 3334. Okay, so for the reconnaissance, first thing we did is you coordinate with the barangay officials and residents that we're going to conduct the survey using UAVs. Then we cover the old existing reference points, check for possible obstructions for the UAS flight, check off the pre-established mohons or corner markers and placing markers on top of it. So yung nangyari dito, before tayo pumunta doon, we already asked the residents to put corner markers to indicate the property boundaries. Then the preliminary aerial image acquisition was done to check the visibility of the markers. Then the sketch of the lot boundaries were done. So this will be used for as reference for the digitization of the boundaries. Then lastly, the establishment of witness points for non-visible markers or mohons. So yung mga non-visible markers or mohons, ito yung mga hindi nakikita ng or to image. So usually ito yung nasa ilalim ng puno or yung nasa ilalim ng mga roof canopies. So ito yung mga images, photos during the reconnaissance step. Yeah. So on the left side, ito yung example ng yung mohon with the marker on top. And yung sa right side, yung sketch ng lot boundaries. Yeah. For flight planning, okay, drone deploy was used for flight planning and data acquisition. And a flight plan using fixed 4D captured was also prepared to serve as backup. The flight altitude was set at 60 meters to obtain a ground sampling distance of 1.6 cm per pixel. The front and side overlap is set at 80%, and 1 battery estimated is the required number of batteries to be used. Then, the flight direction is set parallel to the longer axis to minimize the number of flight times. So ito yung so this is the drone deploy interface. So you can see the left side, so nandun na yung estimated duration of flight. So the area of the flight and the estimated number of images to be captured. So then the advanced setting, dito natin nilalagay yung front overlap and side overlap. So this is also an example of the flight plan using the PICS 4D capture. So for the ground survey, there's two activity for the ground survey. So the first one is the establishment of GNSS ground control points. So for this activity, 4 sets of survey-grade rainbow GNSS receivers were used. Since the baseline is less than 5 kilometers, so the GNSS observations is 30 minutes per session. So a total of 7 GNSS stations were established on the ground for ground control and checkpoint. So the GNSS data is post-processed using the Trimble Business Center software. And again, the AGS 3334 was used as reference, and the coordinate system that was used is the PRS 92 Zone 5. So these are some of the photos of the establishment of the ground control points. Okay, so this example of what you can see, yung kuha ng drone, ng ground control points. So for the second activity, it's the survey, the ground survey for the non-visible lot corners. So for this, we used witness markers. So these witness markers are pairs and they're visible on the ground, and again, visible in the ortho image. So they will serve as reference for the total station. And the coordinates for this witness points will be derived from the processed orthophoto. So the illustration ng paggamit ng witness point. So the idea here is one of the witness points will be occupied by the total station, and the other witness point will serve as backside. Then side shots will be done to obtain the relative position of the non-visible markers by recording the angle and distance relative to the backside. Tapos then, so ang nito, ang advantage nitong paggamit ng yung witness points, you don't have to do a traverse. Hindi nyo na kailangan mag-start sa ground control point. Tapos papunta sa site. So pwedeng after this, lipat lang kayo sa na pair ng next pair ng witness points. So hindi nyo na kailangan i-run yung traverse. So since yung coordinates ng witness points is magagaling sa orthophoto. Okay. So these are the examples. Okay. So for the aerial image acquisition, so the GE must be present throughout the data acquisition to provide guidance and ensure that the standard operating procedures in the plans were followed. So before the flight, so meron kaming pre-flight, last minute pre-flight precaution and revision. So chinek namin before flying, chinek muna namin yung weather, yung current situation ng takeoff and landing site. And for yung meron mga disturbances that may have happened to the ground markers. And again, yung ginamit namin na drone is the Phantom 4 Advance. And the flight was done last November 21, 2018 at 3:48 to 4:04 in the afternoon. So around 16 to 18 minutes. So mga 18 minutes siya including yung takeoff and landing. So a total of 291 images were captured. So after the image acquisition, you download and check the quality of the images. And to ensure that before leaving the site, a rapid post-processing of the image was done to ensure the completeness and the quality of the data. So yan, ito yung drone na ginamit namin for the image acquisition. Okay, ito yung sample ng simulation ng data acquisition. So this is a video. So play ko lang. So automated lang siya. So pagka na dyan, just press the pre-flight checklist. Then we'll do the pre-flight checks. So it's usually during the investigation, minomonitor mo yung telemetry ng drone. So usually, kung enough ba yung GPS signal, yung radio signal, kung nag-capture ba siya ng image. So one way of checking it, check nyo yung, kung nagka-count yung yung number of images. Okay. So usually, yan, maghintay ka ng 18 minutes for it to finish. Sige, ano ko lang. Forward. Yeah. Okay. So after this, after landing, just download the data from the SD card from the drone. Okay, so ito yung usual na na check nyo before leaving the site. So check nyo muna kung malinaw ba yung images. So make sure kung yung markers ba identify as image. So yung yung nasa circle sa oval, nasa oval, yellow na oval, ito yung mga markers. So this is example ng yung blurry or yung out of focus na image. Usually pag ganito yan, you have to redo the flight. Okay. Okay, so yan. So this, we check kung kompleto yung image. Ina-upload ko na kaagad yung mga images sa Agisoft software. So as you can see from yung dots even siya, wala siyang skip. Okay. So for the image processing, Agisoft Photoscan Professional was used. So yung mga steps ng ginagamit ng Agisoft, the first one is the alignment of photos, import ground control points, picking of ground control points in the images, then cloud generation, mesh generation, DEM or digital elevation model generation, orthomosaic generation, and last is the export of orthophoto to TIFF format. So yung TIFF format na ito, yung TIFF na orthophoto, ito yung ini-import nyo papunta sa GIS software. Then, it took the ASUS ROG Zephyrus M around 3 hours to process the orthophoto. So ito yung right before the alignment of photos. And this one's yung picking ng ground control points sa images. So usually, for this activity, merong yan. Per ground control, around 20, mayroon siya mga 20 images. So isa-isa mo siyang ipipick sa images yung center yung center ng target. So yan. So this one is the finished processing. So showing the 7 ground control points. So for the accuracy assessment, so yung Agisoft mayroon siya parang built-in RSME computation. So for this orthophoto, ang ginamit namin na control point is yung A, C, G, and H, and B, D, and E nag-serve sila as checkpoint. So based from the output of Agisoft, yung RSM computation is less than 1 cm. For the control point, at the same time, less than 1 cm then for the checkpoint. So it's within the parang sa atin to get the 10 cm accuracy, so you have the RSM na dapat ma-obtain nyo is less than 2.8 centimeters. So, okay, so for the partial degeneration, so it must be guided by sketch showing the relationship of each point that make up the line and the relationship of each line to make up the polygon. So usually kailangan to. Malaking tulong yung sketch plan na to, lalo na kung marami ng lote. So at least alam nyo kung nasaan yung mga possible location ng mga bawat markers. Then the QGIS software was used to digitize the lot. And then the generated digitized lot, the shape was exported to the Excel file for CAD software processing. So okay, ito yung sample ng pag-generate ng lot, yung pag-digitize pala. So first one, hanapin natin, identify the location of the corner markers. Okay. So for this one, the yellow dots represents the marker locations. And after that, with the help of the sketch plan, so we just have to connect the dots to close the polygons. Yeah. Then do it on the other sa ibang, yeah. Then kumpletuhin na natin yung pag-connect the dots. So this is the completed digitation of the lots. So the yellow dot represents the visible markers. So ito yung mga visible sa orthophotos. Yung orange dots, ito yung mga non-visible markers. So ito yung ginamitan natin ng ground survey using witness points. The blue diamonds are the witness points. The red diamond are the ground control points. Okay, the last step is the survey return preparation. So this is required to make the official survey official through DNR or LRA. So they go to the inspection, verification, approval of survey or the IVAS process. So since yung AV-based coordinates natin is PRS-92, to convert the AV coordinates to local coordinates, the GNSS derived control stations were connected to the reference coordinates by common point method. Then CAD software was used to edit and finalize the survey drawing. And an NMAX surveying software, ito yung parang add-on siya sa CAD software, was used to generate the survey returns in the DLS file for the LAMS e-survey plan. So ito yung example ng yung pag-upload ng DLS file sa e-survey plan ng LMB. So ito yung pag-check ng DLS file. So this one's checking for closure, for checking of the area. Okay, so this one's the yung finished yung subdivision plan. Yan. So done siya 3 sheets. Okay, so this is the orthophoto overlay of the survey plan. So ito yung yung survey plan before namin pasok sa DNR region 13. Okay, so this is the field notes cover. As you can see, Survey was executed with the total station and your AV. So nakanote dito yung serial number ng total station and the DJI nung drone. For the second page, as stated sa LMB, so nandun yung notes. So yun yung so yung so yun nasa notes. UAS was used in the survey. Nandun yung date and time of the survey. So kung ano yung ginamit na drone, kung ano yung brand, at syempre kung sino yung pilot. So the side lap and front overlap na ginamit. So number of images, total area covered, yung software na ginamit sa pag-process ng orthophoto, and syempre the coordinate system. So this one's the data compilation of the boundary. So as you can just take note, yung coordinates siya naka-local na. And this is the last description. And this is yung activity namin sa yung pag-process namin. So sa Carnegie State University. And this is the photo of the whole team after the survey. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Voltaire Tila, for that walkthrough of our Agusan del Sur survey drone, Agusan del Sur drone supported survey. Let's move on to the Q&A, but before that, let me introduce our panelists who will help us with answering this very interesting question. So we have Engineer Rhea and Engineer Voltaire Tila. We also have Engineer Severino Domingo from the UPT CAGP and our geographer, Ms. V. Rivera. We also have our guest here, si Engineer Chenita Pecolado. She's from the Agusan del Sur Provincial Government from the Engineering Office. And we have our team leader, Mr. Rene Sanapo. May I request my fellow panelists to kindly turn on your video. Please show your faces. Okay.
Wait lang.
Okay. Panelists, please. Okay. So I'm gonna read some very interesting questions here. Maraming technical questions. The very first question. How do you minimize the errors in your drone surveys and make your output maps as absolutely and relatively as accurate as possible? So I'll give Engineer Tila first. Can you please answer this?
So para maging accurate, siyempre depende yung sa ground control points na gagamitin. So for this activity, so we recommend using pag nag-establish kayo ng ground control points, gamamit kayo ng yung static observation. So yun, tsaka yung proper placement ng mga ground control points. So dapat, as much as possible, evenly distributed siya within the site.
Okay. Anything to add, Engineer Rhea? To that, June? Are you there? Oh, maybe isn't. Okay, so that's the answer of Engineer Tila to this first question. Okay. Next question. Will this be applicable when doing subdivision, consolidation, subdivision of decreed or titled lots? I think he's referring to will the use of drones be applicable when doing subdivision, consolidation, subdivision of decreed or titled lots?
Okay. So Rhea, ka ba? Okay. So okay na. So syempre, yes, applicable siya. So yun din yung ginawa namin sa Santa Fe. So untitled lot siya, yung mother lot. So yun, sinubdivide namin siya using the drone survey.
Okay, Ms. Rhea.
Waltz, with regards to yung parang parang scheme, kasi dito, 'di ba, yung parang dapat makikita yung mismong tawag niya, mohon,
Corners, yes.
corners.
Okay, so that's it. Okay. Next question. This one. What should be the minimum size of tarp to mark the GCP for the purpose of drone survey?
Okay, sorry. Okay, for the ginamit namin 1 meter by 1 meter. Yung mga late. Pero dito yata parang mas less than 1 meter kita pa rin. Pero recommend using at least 1 meter.
1 by 1 meter at
Yes.
For the GCP, but for the yung mohon, we use 15 centimeters, no, yung diameter.
It's a circle. We use 15 centimeters diameter for that. Also, Sir Bolts, just a question. What should be just additional question to that? What should be the design of the GCP? Should it be striped? Should it be checkered? Should it be just black and white? Can we use a different color?
For this activity, ginamit natin sa checkered. Pero lately, ang ginagamit natin to parang naka-cross. Cross siya na merong, so black cross with yellow stripe sa middle. So para mas madali ma-identify yung gitna ng marker.
Okay.
Siguro later pwede natin pakita sa kanila kung ano yung itsura nun.
Okay. The next question. What coordinates azimuth will be used by TS during the side shots from the witness points? Will it be always set to 0 azimuth?
Yes, set the azimuth to 0.
Okay. Set the azimuth to 0. Next question. Engineer Chen, are you there? Engineer Chen, I think this is a good question. Is the survey already approved, and how many titles were already generated titles? Okay, I think Engineer Chen is still.
Hi, Chen.
Hi, Chen. Okay, maybe Engineer Rhea can have answer this one.
If the survey is already approved, I think that the survey in that area has been approved, because the ENR Region 13 was also involved in the conduct of the survey. So mas na-check na nila.
Okay. And also, I was just told by Engineer Chen last week, around 80 parcels have already been titled.
In that area.
Okay. Next, another question. I noticed that from Joel Marundan, I noticed the GCPs were almost linear. Does it have to follow the network design provisions of BMC 2010-13 Manual for Land Survey? Or we can determine the location of GCPs how we wanted to? Will it affect the processing?
Yeah, pwede kayo mag-determine the location. So as long as yung ibang GCPs nasa as long as the lot is inside the GCPs, yun yung punod doon. So tsaka it's mas possible evenly distributed.
Evenly distributed. Sir, how many number of GCPs do you recommend? Regardless,
So
an average.
parang at least 3 pero 4. Pero pag mas malaki na yung area, syempre, you have to, kailangan mo dagdagan yun.
Okay. Do you have any addition?
Engineer June, are you there? I think
Okay.
Okay, sige. Okay, next question. Hi po. I would like to ask if FEF has a detailed study on when drone-assisted land surveying is economically practical, given the following factors: visibility of corner markers, size of the lot being measured, proximity to airports, etc. This would help us po in deciding whether a drone-assisted land surveying is applicable, advisable po for our project. That's a good question.
Yeah. So in our
Yeah.
experience, di ba, you did the computations. Economical siya if more than 5 hectares, no?
Yes, for
More than
5
5 hectares. And ideally, dapat yung area wala masyadong vegetation, no? Because we need to be able to find, view or see the mohon markings, yung targets natin for the mohons from above eh. So kailangan na ideally na parang walang vegetation. So yung mga agricultural lands is ideal for this survey, for the use of drones.
Okay. Anything to add, Engineer Tila?
Okay na yun. So, wala na.
Okay. Okay. Next, okay, this refers to the Agusan case study. Okay, for the Agusan case study, if the purpose of the survey is for damage assessment or resource mapping and not for land titling, and the establishment of the GCP was not conducted, how accurate or inaccurate will be the results of the survey?
Okay, malaki. So kung kailangan mo lang naman, syempre yung relative position lang naman. So kahit na walang GCP, okay lang. Pero if you have to measure, malaki ang difference. So could be, maabot siya ng meters eh. Tsaka yung niya, yung scaling, hindi siya sakto eh. So may mga warping din. So kaya kailangan talaga yung GCPs for scaling, tsaka yung pag-set nung yung pag-set yung ano ba tawag doon, yung distances, tsaka yung angles, coordinates.
In addition, kasi damage assessment yan eh. So, most probably, for example, pag flooding yung assessment mo, needed na makita kung ano yung parang areas na pwedeng mahagip or ma-include dun sa area na pwedeng bahain. So, baka kailangan din na may certain accuracy. So, yun, kailangan pa rin yata ng GCP.
Okay, thank you. For our next question, can drone replace the traditional instrument TS, theodolite, or transit in setting the monuments?
Setting the monuments.
Yeah, syempre yung for set of the monuments, kailangan traditional survey pa rin gagamitin mo. So gagamit ka pa ng total station. So yun. So,
and also in surveying in general, we're not saying that drone can replace it. It's just another option for the geodetic engineers to have a selection of options kung ano yung gagamitin nila depending on the purpose.
Okay.
Hi, Jen!
Engineer Chen is back.
Hello.
Engineer Chen, may question dito regarding sa Agusan survey, Agusan del Sur survey. Yung question is if the plan has already been approved at kung ilang parcels na yung na-titlean. Can you please answer that?
Na-approve na yan. Approve na. Actually, 2018 ata na-approve, 2019.
19.
Okay.
Yung before tayo sa Manila Servots.
Kaya
Wala
sa
nga, yung March
February.
ba yun?
February?
March
Late
ba yun?
February. Late February.
February.
Oo, yun. Nasubmit na yun. That time,
Oh,
submitted na.
Okay, February 2019, it has already been submitted. And to date, how many parcels have already been titled?
Siguro mga 30 plus.
30 plus pa lang. Oh, so sorry. The 80 plus was yun yung mga
Last year.
for this year.
So
Okay.
parang total yata ilang bang lots yun? Parang 50 plus, di ba, yung generated?
Opo.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. What are the difference of
Satellite images.
What are the difference of satellite images coming from Google Earth and ortho images generated by drones?
Si V, si V.
V, our geographer, are you there? Probably she's
Yeah.
here.
Hello.
Hi, V.
Hello.
Yes, we can
Yes.
hear you.
So yung kasing sa drone images, well, una, mas madali tayo makapili, 'di ba, kung saan natin papaliparin, ano yung i-acquire natin na image, kung saang area natin kukunin. Tas syempre, mas detailed to kasi pwede tayong mag-acquire on lower flying heights. So depende sa kung anong kailangan nating specification for the project.
And in terms of accuracy, of resolution, B. Mas mataas ang resolution ng ortho
Yes po.
images generated by drones.
Okay.
Any addition from you, Volts?
Yeah, syempre yung sa ortho image, ang resolution mo dito, it's kaya siya as, di ba, as less than 2 cm yung resolution. Unlike yung sa Google Earth, parang pwedeng metro na eh. So yun, yung details na makikita mo sa image, mas marami sa orthophoto compared to Google Earth.
And also yung time of capture ng mga satellite images, sometimes 'di ba, hindi siya ganoon ka-updated compared to the drones na parang if you capture now, so yun yung real time halos na itsura ng area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. For the next question, ito. What's the time range to complete a whole project using drones, starting from the beginning to end or submission of plan to DNR?
Okay.
Pero isaan na lang, yung sa survey mismo. So nag-start tayo dumating tayo November 19. So,
We actually did the survey in 2 days, di ba?
Yeah, the survey took us 2 days. So yan, from November 20 to 21.
Yeah. And then after that, nag-processing kayo.
Nag-processing. So yung kinagabihan ng 21, nag-process tayo. Then yung kinabukasan ng 22, pinesent natin yung ortho image sa
CSU.
Sa Caraga, CSU.
Pero kasi ours was parang hindi siya pwedeng mag-engage dahil nga I mean, this is a pilot and then meron tayong parang mga teams, 'di ba, doing their own thing, may nagpa-process. So ganito na lang siguro ang question. Kung i-compare nyo dun sa traditional, what's the difference if ever man? Mas mabilis ba if ever kung drone yung ginamit or pareho lang or mas mabilis pa rin pag traditional in terms of yung buong process hanggang sa submission ng plan sa DNR?
Well, syempre yung processing, yung tsaka yung sa approval, pare-pareho yan kung magta-traditional survey or US survey. So magkakatalo na lang yan sa pag-acquire ng data. So syempre pag traditional survey, magkano ka pa dyan? Mag-run ka front traverse, close mo. So ganun yung pagkuha niyan. So kung for a hectare, siguro pwedeng mga 2 days mo gagawin. So yun nga, depends sa area. Kung 1 hectare, hindi ganun kalaki yung difference. So, pero yun nga, since siya, so ortho image, yung pagkuha natin ng ortho image, list lang, 20 minutes. Pero yung pagkuha yung paglagay natin ground control points, mga parang half day yata yan. Half day or sabihin mo ng 1 day. Then another, since may span team na gumagawa for the non-visible markers, so I think less than 1 day lang din yung nawa para to acquire yung less than yung mga non-visible markers.
Mm-hmm.
So ganun. Okay. So mas mabilis siya pag sa yung pag-acquire ng data.
In terms of data acquisition.
Oo. Mabilis. Yeah, at the same time, syempre, since may orthophoto ka, at least nakikita mo kaagad. May idea ko ano nangyayari on sa ground, di ba? Kung tama ba yung side shots na nakuha or kulang pa ba. So ayun, yun yung isa pang added value ng paggamit ng orthophoto.
Okay, my next question. Do we have, this one is a good question. Do we have a particular specs or for drone to be used for survey, or any drone could be used? Like if I buy a drone from Toys R Us, or if I buy the 3,000 peso worth of drones, would that suffice? Or ano yung minimum requirement for a drone to be used for survey?
Yeah, so nung una, tinutubukan din kasi natin gumamit dati ng fixed wing. So kaso unfortunately, yung area masyadong maliit to use of fixed wing. So far, try natin yung mga locally available na drones, which is yung DJI Phantom. So kaya siya. So depende nga sa sa yung camera na gagamitin mo. So as long as kaya niya makapag-generate ng ground sampling distance of less than 2 centimeters. So for example, for Phantom 3 na meron 12 megapixels, parang to achieve the less than 2 centimeters na less than 2 centimeters na GST, you have to fly at least maximum of 50 meters. Yun nga lang, instead of 50 meters na medyo parang delikado na masyado na mababa. So for the Phantom 4, since may with a 20 megapixels camera, so kaya niya ng 60 cm. So pero kung titignan mo yung sa flight planning software, kaya niya hanggang 70 to 80. So less than pa rin siya, less than makachip pa siya less than 2 cm. So yun. So yun yung niya. So depend about the drone caliber. Ayun, yun na yun. So at least check the camera kung kaya niya, kung clear yung output. So yun yung mga one of the requirements. Then the accuracy naman kasi ng the orthophoto, it really will depend on sa ground control points mo.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another one. This is a good question. Okay. Is this possible for bigger areas like whole municipality for spatial planning? Ms. Rhea, this is a good question, Ms. Rhea.
Actually, pwede, yeah. But doon na magkakatalo kung ano yung type of drone that you will use. Kasi syempre ito mga ilang hektarya to, mga thousands of hectares, di ba? So for that, a fixed wing might be applicable. Pero pwede. Especially barangay-barangay. Kaya naman.
Yeah, pero additional dun sa So syempre kung buong barangay na yan, since di mo naman siguro kailangan yung 2 cm na resolution.
Yeah. Depende.
So kung gano'n, pwede ka nang mag-fly na at higher elevation. So kung akyat ka ng 120 meters, so siguro abot siya ng mga more than 2 cm resolution. So tingin ko enough pa rin siya for planning.
For planning purposes. So, tapos especially for planning na kailangan talaga natin makita yung existing land uses eh. So we need yung parang up-to-date information. So para sa akin mas okay actually na gumamit ng drone orthophotos. But it will depend on the resources of the LGU also.
Our team leader, Mr. Rene Sanapo, would also like to add to that. Would like to answer that question. Sir Rene, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good morning. That's a very nice question, and I would say na it's probable. It's possible, but based on my experience, I would not recommend it. The maximum height that you can fly with a Phantom 4, for example, is about 120 meters, and that gives you around maybe 25 hectares or more than that on one battery. Considering that you have to allocate some power for the flight around and for the drone to come back. Ang problema mo dyan is that you have to get the photos kasi at approximately the same time of the day. Because if you get them at different times of the day, the shadows will fall in different directions and your orthophoto will look weird, It's like it's all over the place. So usually you fly mid-morning, probably as early as 8:30 until probably mga 11:30. And that's your limit because if you fly in the afternoon, the shadows, you can fly in the afternoon certainly, but the shadows will fall in the opposite direction. So yun, ang effect ng orthophoto. But if you're not finicky about things like that, then it's okay to fly the whole day. Doon lang sa experience namin, we would prefer na if you have to cover a municipality that's quite large, maybe you should use a fixed wing for that. Suggestion lang yun. Thank you very much, Miss Angela.
Thank you, Sir Rene. Also, in addition, back in 2016 in Cordova, with the help of SkyEye, we were able to map the whole Cordova municipality. It took them 3 weeks to finish the whole municipality because they also have to do an island barangay. And now Cordova has used the ortho image or the ortho photo of that municipality for their comprehensive land use plan. Okay.
Also
Yes,
to add, it can also be a combination, especially for land use planning, kasi you can use satellite image for the whole area, and then dun sa mga identified nyo na development zones, then probably you can do a much detailed acquisition of data by using drones. Pero yeah, if more than 20 hectares, kailangan na talaga fixed wing dyan.
Okay. Next question. Again, it's about the tarp size. Regarding the minimum size of tarp, does it depend on the area of the lot or is there a ratio? Sir Volts?
So wala pa naman kaming nagamit. Wala pa akong study regarding sa ratio. Pero so far yung 1 meter, nakikita pa rin siya at 120 meters. So 120 meters kasi ito yung maximum allowable natin, di ba? For civilians, for flying drones. So okay pa rin siya. Nakikita pa rin yung one by one.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Next question. So is it correct to say that in the Santa Fe survey, which was approved by DNR, the monuments were set using TS, theodolite, or transit?
For this kasi yung for this activity, before pa lang tayo nag-survey, di ba? Nagsinet na ng mga residents yung mga monuments nila. So ganyan yung doon. So pero yung syempre meron ka pa rin mga kailangan i-modify. So kailangan baguhin. So yun, syempre gumamit sila ng total station to set the monuments. Pero syempre, yung coordinates na ginamit doon, nakuha siya sa orthophoto.
Okay. Another question. Have you considered using 3D GCP in your Agusan project or any of your projects? How will it affect the accuracy of the orthophoto?
Alam ko pati yung Z component nakasama sa sa pag-process. So natanda natin yung parang yung control niya parang dumagpas siya ng 2 cm yung sa Z component. So I think it's around 4 cm na. Yung just for the Santa Fe project. So for the others parang ganun din naman Mga ganun. Pang less than 10 cm. Okay.
Sir Volts, just to let you know, your frame froze.
All right.
Okay, this next question. What is the optimum area that can be covered in a single flight with the designated height limit of CAAP, say using the same drone or camera you used? So, sir, halimbawa, we use the Phantom 4 Advance in Agusan del Sur. So, what's the optimum area that can be covered in a single flight?
Depending on the altitude volts.
Oh yeah, pero dito, yung nangyari itong ginasa sa Agusan, for per battery, siguro, yun nga, 6 hectares siya for one battery at 60 meters.
60 meters altitude.
And 60 siguro kung mga kaya niya mag-20 kung tataas ka pa ng mga 120.
20 hectares? Okay. Okay, thank you. This one, how about drone calibration, requirements, frequency? I think the question here is, where will the drone calibration, how is drone calibration being done? And what are the requirements? I am not sure if I understood the question correctly. But I think
Ito, sa mismo ano?
So,
Yung
siguro
mismo,
ito yung test
yun nga,
bed.
Mr. Melvin Candelario, can you
Think ito yung test bed siguro. So, yun yung diniscuss last webinar ng
ng
LMB.
LMB.
okay.
So, for distinct drone calibration, it's more of ano yung mag-set up pa tayo, yung LMB is planning to to establish a test bed para yung mga genetic engineers ma-check, ma-test sila kung kaya nilang mag-process or yung drone sila mag-process ng orthophoto. Ayun.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I think LMB is still has ongoing discussions on the identification of the site for that test bed for calibration. Or for drone registration pala, not calibration.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rhea. We have another question here, which was already answered, but I'll read it again because it's a good question. So, image processing really requires a powerful hardware and software to process all data. Can you recommend some minimum required specs for the processor or laptop or desktop for how much would one need to acquire the licensed software for image processing? For the specs, I'm going to send to everyone the minimum specs for you to be able to process your the drone images faster compared to using a laptop. So here, so it's 8 gig RAM, i7 8 Gen processors, at least 4 gig of video card, 128 SSD, plus 1 TB HDD. Okay, Sir Volts, how about for the kind of how about for the brand of laptop or the how much would one need to acquire the licensed software for image processing?
So, sa image processing, depende sa kung ano yung gagamitin mong software. So kung for fixed 4D, hindi gano'ng importante dito yung video card mo. So, as long as yung lang dito is yung pinaka mabilis na processor na kaya mong bilhin, napasok sa budget mo. So, hindi siya gano'ng nagmamatter yung dito kung naka-high-end na ground na naka-high-end na video card. So usually ang recommend ko lang pag mag-ano ka sa fixed 4D is naka i7 na processor. Tsaka yung number of cores magmamatter din. So for the RAM, so depende yan kung ano yung plano mo i-process na images na site. So parang based from ginamit natin na na laptop, naka 16 gig. Pero may time pa rin na nag-error siya. So I recommend at least 32 gig na memory. Tapos yung sa storage, I recommend ko mag-SD kayo, mabilis siya. Tapos gamit lang siguro kayo yung traditional hard drive for yung pag-store ng data nyo. So medyo intensive siya sa space. So for example lang ditong yung image ng Santa Fe, yung maliit lang na yun, it's around 6 hectares. It's more than 1 gig na. So kung kung if gusto niyo mag-add soft, dito magmamatter yung video card. So halos mangangalahati yung time ng pag-process pag maganda yung video card mo. So usually anong ginagamit natin dito at yung mga parang mga gaming na video card. So yung parang at least naka-Nvidia ka na yung 1070 or 2070. So ganun. So parang sample lang.
Pero ano dito?
Halos nangangalahati yung time nung pag-process.
Sir, we have a question here. I think we have to clarify some details on our Agusan project. So as I heard from Mr. Tila that in the Santa Fe survey, the corners were monumented beforehand, but the coordinates were derived from the orthophoto and not by direct measurement using traditional instruments. I think this is unacceptable. So sir, can you please?
Yeah, ito na nga yung pinag natin dito, di ba? So, kaya nga tayo merong factor assessment. So, yung natin is, based on the study, pasok siya sa, mapasok sa yung RMSE. So, usually it's less than 2 cm. So, yun yung andyan. So, yun nga, from the previous, umabot siya na-compare na yan from the previous studies na comparable yung coordinates na nakuha through visual survey versus orthophoto.
Okay. Thank you. Miss Rhea, are you there? Oh, I think she's not. Anyways, we have 2 more questions, and then we'll be reaching the end of this webinar. Okay. Will this type of survey can be used in offshore, for example, privately owned island?
Kaya naman. Yes.
Okay, so it can be used for privately owned island.
Meron pa yatang question si Joel.
Yeah, this is one last question. If this can be used in subdivision, consolidation, subdivision, decreed titled lots, has there been any differences in the azimuth, GNS azimuth versus astronomical azimuth / geodetic azimuth used in old surveys based on the presented project?
Yes, yes. So for this particular project in Santa Fe, meron siyang meron siyang parang tagline rotation. So difference ng azimuth. So para ma-resolve namin 'yon, since Engineer Chen, sila rin yung nag-survey ng katabing lote. So nung gin-survey lang yung mga katabing lote, naka-andi naman sila. Naka-local azimuth. So inumbay lang namin yung nirun lang namin ng traverse yung mga ground control points na ginamit sa drone survey. So nirun siya again using naman yung local coordinates. So yun, doon namin nakita-check yung differences ng azimuth.
Okay, thank you, Engineer Volts, for that answer. I think there are no more questions here, and we're wrapping up the Q&A. We would like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. Okay, thank you everyone, and we hope to see you in our next webinar series, and see you in our Technology for Property Rights Facebook page. Have a good day.